ways, this pandemic has really left people to figure it out on their own. You know, that as I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because I was in the clinical trial.
Oh my God. Self-report. Holy moly. Are you hearing this?
No. What did she say?
You didn't hear that?
No.
She said, I got the Johnson & Johnson because I was in a clinical trial. Did you really miss that?
I missed that the first time I listened.
Holy
wow.
shit.
That's bizarre.
Dave Chappelle came out in his special. God, it's hilarious. He talks about how he got vaccinated. He's like, I went with the Johnson & Johnson. And the whole auditorium just erupts in laughter.
Well, no. He said when it came to the vaccine, I did the most N-word thing I could imagine.
Oh, you're right.
I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I said, doctor, can you give me the third best option?
Oh, man.
But it's crazy. So not only
I'm going to back it up for you. Just
not only
did
she get the Johnson & Johnson one, she was in a clinical trial for it.
I know. Let's see. Let's hear that one more time. Where's this going? You just piqued my interest here.
Yes.
I mean, I should say, you know, and in some ways, this pandemic has really left people to figure it out on their own. You know, that as I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because I was in the clinical trial, I figured out before the expert guidance that I should get the booster shot. Yep. So at the time, I was sort of.
So
look at that face.
Okay. Here's my question.
Oh man.
Did she only get into the clinical trial because of her position? She was able to like worm her way into it?
Oh, I don't know. Like
because
being in the clinical trial is good because you get it earlier.
Well, from her perspective, probably.
For me, it's horrific. I was like, I don't want to be first in line. Come on, let me.
Yeah, I understand that, but she also said that she went and got the booster before anyone said to get the booster.
Right. Yeah.
So she's obviously making like these, you know, she's making these preemptive decisions here. So I wouldn't be surprised if she. I wouldn't be surprised if she wormed her way into the clinic. Because I mean, how rare is it to be part of a clinical drug trial, let alone a clinical COVID drug trial?
Well, I mean, if you're a writer for the New York Times, you have friends in high places. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Oh, I'll write a glowing story about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Just get me in. All of a sudden, 6 months later, Johnson & Johnson is pulling their vaccine. Johnson & Johnson did pull their vaccine, didn't they? Or stop doling it out?
No. There was some, wasn't there some problem originally?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it turned out that it wasn't a problem or something.
That is this is a trust the science level that's just beyond me, because I'm like, let's see how this plays out for a couple months before I go out and get the vaccine.
So Michelle Goldberg has an article written, "The Johnson & Johnson shot was my ticket out of hell."
Oh.
The first paragraph is, first sentence is, "I handled this past pandemic year worse than most people I know. Not because I had it harder. Obviously, my family was insulated by all sorts of privilege. But emotionally, I more or less fell apart."
Wow.
I love this. "Unlike my friends and acquaintances, I developed no new domestic skills or hobbies. If there was silver linings, I was too mired in hysterical grief from my old life to appreciate them. Knowing how little I'd lost compared to others didn't lessen my misery. It just added a slimy coating of shame to it all."
This is the person that we're supposed to... God. This is the person that we're depending on us to discern fact from fiction, reality from fantasy. This is the person.
Oh my God. I love... This is like literally the most stereotypical peak... white privileged, neurotic, white guilt.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I feel bad because I'm emotionally unstable, but then I think of all people have it worse, and then that makes me feel worse because I shouldn't feel so bad in the first place.
There's a lot of things you can call Joe Rogan. God. Emotionally unstable isn't one of them. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Michelle Goldberg is calling herself emotionally unstable.
Right.
This is insane. This is insane. Just political commentary from emotionally unstable people. Count me out.
This article is actually very revealing. The next sentence is, frantic for an escape hatch. I started applying to vaccine trials last year.
This
So
is
maybe she didn't use her
self-report on
position.
steroids. Holy
She just
cow.
fucking, she's like, listen, this is so crazy. So you have this woman, Michelle Goldberg, who's she's so emotionally neurotic and anxious and upset about COVID
Mhm.
that she's out there applying to every single vaccine trial she can get into, probably.
Right.
And we're supposed to believe that she's able to determine information in a factual, non-biased, non-emotional way. This person's having a meltdown, and they're so frantic. They're signing up for clinical drug trials for any way to try to escape their anxiety disorder that they have now. And this is the person we're supposed to turn to and say, "Oh, I trust this person's view of the world."
In a clinical drug trial, don't they? I mean, is it like a double-blind thing where they can give you a placebo?
Mhm.
I don't even know. I mean, maybe she's talking about they actually gave him the real drug to look for side effects. I'm not sure.
I have to keep reading this. This is amazing. This article is amazing.
Keep going.
Frantic for an escape hatch, I started applying to vaccine trials last year and was accepted into Johnson & Johnson. Sometimes when I mention this to people, they've thanked me, but there was nothing really altruistic about it. I'm delighted to have played a minuscule part in the development of the vaccine, but to me, any risk involved paled beyond the possibility of getting immunity early. When I got a shot at my first appointment in December, I felt something close to ecstasy. Oh.
This is insane.
You could just imagine her like in the doctor's office. Is she getting shot? It's like she's like, "Oh, thank you, doctor."
This is so high risk in my estimation.
I know. I'd agree. I would 100% agree. But that's what I'm saying. This is, to me, is very clear that she was in such an emotional bad place because of COVID. She was willing to do anything,
right,
to try to get out of it.
This is crazy. Continue.
When I got the shot, my first appointment in December, I felt something close to ecstasy. But the next day, it curdled into despair. In a sort of reverse hypochondria, I scanned my body, hoping to feel any ghostly twinge of a side effect, but there was nothing. I was pretty sure I got a placebo.
I was right. I nailed it. My God, so she was literally in the first fucking trials.
Yes.
That's crazy. This is Russian roulette with, I
know.
I mean, it's amazing that people do it. It's definitely I would consider this a high risk move.
Mm-hmm.
Is there more?
I'm saying if there's anything more worth interesting.
Did she? We have to know if she got the placebo though. Hopefully
Let's see.
She reveals.
Let's see if she says. Thanks to the vaccine trial, I had a similar choice this month in a process known as unblinding.
Mm-hmm.
The researchers told me that I did get a placebo.
She did. So she didn't take the Johnson & Johnson.
Well, no, she did. She did
Later? Oh, okay.
She chose to, which is interesting that she then would chose to take the Johnson & Johnson one.
Right. Even though the trial didn't give it to her. Later she got it. Yeah.
She said, I got the placebo, then I was offered the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was an easy call, not knowing when I'll be eligible in New York. I begged the people conducting the study to let me come in as soon as possible. And I got my Johnson & Johnson shot last week. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Fascinating. Very fascinating.
So let me now that I have the context, let me hear her say that again.
2 years of being told to trust.
I have to mention before we move on that this is the person that debated Jordan Peterson. Okay. Remember what I talked about earlier about the intellectual titans of the left versus
the person who's having a mental breakdown so much that she's signing up for clinical trials for unknown vaccine.
It's
I don't know.
It's funny because I wouldn't call Jordan Peterson an intellectual titan of the right. Like he may lean right, he may have some right opinions, but I think of him as an intellectual academic aside of politics. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
He has opinions that very clearly conform to neither
Yes.
side of the political aisle.
I'm a firm believer that partisanship knocks 20 points off your IQ. These partisans don't seem very bright at all. Yeah.
I agree.
Authority and circumscribe their lives in really painful ways.
Yeah, and I get that too. Like, and that's not it's not like that's some, ethically compromised disposition for people to have.
Right.
Like, people have that.
I mean, I should say, and in some ways, this pandemic has really left people to figure it out on their own. That as I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because I was in the clinical trial, I figured out before the expert guidance that I should get the booster shot.
Yep.
So at the time, I was sort of going against public health guidance, even though later the guidance changed, right? Things do shift, some because the virus changes, our understanding of the virus changes, and some because the public health bureaucracy can be sort of lumbering and slow. And I think that they take advantage of the uncertainty that creates and act like there's something malevolent there when it's really just how it works.
And there's also this.
The problem. This is the issue. There will always be people they'll criticize because they just want to go against whatever is being told. So they're just going to criticize regardless. But I think a lot of the criticism towards a lot of the government, trust in terms of the COVID stuff was because there was the thing with the masks originally, which was a lie directly. Yes. And they knew it was a lie. Don't wear masks, they don't do anything. And then suddenly the complete reversal, everyone wear a mask.
Yes.
And then you had that combined with this wasn't from the government, but this was from the media, where they just immediately jumped on, you're not allowed to question whether COVID came out of the lab.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to even question it. When, finally it took someone, said, well, it leaked that there was some study somewhere that said maybe it did come from a lab. And then Jon Stewart was able to verbalize what every person in America felt and was told they weren't allowed to feel. They said the coincidence that the one place in the world that's studying these fucking viruses across the street from it is where this virus spreads is preposterous.
All that took place after the election, though, because a lot of people didn't want to agree with Donald Trump, who immediately said, oh, yeah, this came from a lab, obviously. It's like nobody wanted to agree with Donald Trump.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I forgot about that element. Donald Trump very quickly, he was very quick to blame China.
Right.
I don't know if he was specific to blame the Wuhan. I know he did eventually, but I think at first he just blamed China. And they were like, that's racist. To blame China.
Of course. That's the only trick they have. All they have is the race card. That's the only thing they know. Yeah.
Right.